Very pleased today to have with us Evangeline Coker from the Office of Research Development. She is the Professional Development and Resource Specialist there, where she works to develop and disseminate grant writing and grant proposal development resources. She is also the host of the Office of Research Development's podcast, Journeys in Research. So we are very pleased to have her with us today because proposal writing is a very important skill that you will use throughout both your graduate career and your professional career beyond that. And it's also an entirely different genre of writing. So I'm very pleased to be able to turn it over to Evangeline to provide the expert's take on how to do this successfully.
Oh, thank you, Keith. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks everybody for coming out virtually to learn today about how to make your funding proposal more competitive and increase the chance that you will be successful. So yeah, today I just want to go through some basics about that. I've kind of broken it down into 3 different sections. So those are project planning, proposal planning, and then proposal development. I just want to walk you through that. So before you even get to the writing of your project, you need to figure out what it is you're doing. So with project planning, you got to do your homework. Right. I hope you're here today because you are, as a graduate student, already working on some kind of research project. You have a specialization or an interest area that you've been focusing on for your thesis or dissertation, or you're exploring a couple different options. So I hope we're at that point already. If we're not, then we need to find a project, find a problem to focus on for your research. So if I would not even go start searching for funding until you know what you're doing. So ask yourself, what problem am I trying to solve? In today's world, there are a lot of funding opportunities. There are a lot of fellowships and awards, but in the end, the people giving those out probably don't care about your personality or who you are or where you've come from. They care about what you're doing and if what you're doing is going to impact them. So they're going to be problem-based and solution-based. It's not about you, it's about what you do. All right, so how are you going to make the world a better place with your research, with your art? Make it about a problem that you have the solution to. So the best way to do that, if you're feeling a little lost, is to go for what motivates you. You know, something that excites you. The proposal writing process and management process can take some time. Usually people don't spend a night writing it and then send it off and get funded. If you do, wow, you're amazing. But for most of us, this takes time and planning. And you need to have something that's going to keep you sucked in and focused on that and motivated through the months you may be working on developing the project and writing. And then if you get that grant or that fellowship, that's going to take some time to develop as well while you're being funded. There may be deliverables. People are expecting results from you. So find something that's interesting, something that for you is motivating. So the next thing to think about is who cares about this problem? You know, this could be, you know, you may need to do some market research. So get out Google and look up, you know, what are some companies or some agencies or foundations who may be focused on the same problem you're focused on solving. Find those connection points. You know, if you're looking for collaborators in your own backyard, who might be interested in your department? Maybe you have a colleague, or maybe there's a faculty member who could be a mentor for you. Or perhaps get you to be involved on one of their grants and your interests intersect and that can work. There may be people, like I said, who could be collaborators, or there may be people who are already being funded in that area who may be able to give you some advice. You know, there are a lot of centers at FSU doing a lot of amazing things in all different areas of science and arts, social sciences, and they've been where you've been. And so it's probably good to make a connection with someone there to find out what they're doing. You know, my guess is your problem is not, you're not the first person thinking about your problem. There are other people out there, so it's good to know who's caring about this right now. So you can be more savvy as you strategize about how your solution will be the one that is unique, right? And then you're going to want to know who has the money. Obviously, we're trying to get funded with our proposals. So it's not just who has money in general, but who cares about the problem and has the money to give to that solution. So this could be large funders, national agencies, private agencies, corporate agencies, FSU as well. I know OGFA has their own, grants and fellowships that you run in-house, which is amazing. And if you are wanting to find something external, one great way to do that is by going to Pivot's funding database. So I don't know if you're familiar with Pivot, but FSU has a subscription to Pivot, which is a giant database of funding opportunities that just kind of runs the gamut of national, state, private, international organizations, and anyone who has an fsu.edu email address has access to FSU's subscription of this. This is just a screenshot of my homepage for Pivot. There are some great resources for how to use Pivot. If you have questions about that, I'm happy to walk you through that. And there are also some online resources about that, but it's basically like Amazon for grants. You can search, and filter things down by applicant type. So graduate student or, project type. Maybe you want some funding connected with your dissertation, or maybe you want to do a fellowship, or maybe you're looking for a grant for your research. You can filter down to see what's available. Pivot has a lot of stuff. It takes some digging, and it takes some strategy in choosing which agencies to go for, but it is an awesome place to start if you're looking for something outside of FSU. So that is a great place to find out who cares about your problem and has the money to put behind it. So we've figured out our problem, what we're trying to solve. We found out who cares and who has the money and cares. And then also, say you found an agency, an opportunity on Pivot, you go to their website, find out about them. Just because you're interested in sustainable energy and they're interested in sustainable energy, that doesn't mean that they care about your solution, or your angle on this. You need to find out what drives them too, right? How does your project help them achieve their mission? So to be successfully funded, your interests and the sponsor's mission have to align. So get to know them on their website. They should have some kind of mission statement, some kind of, just like a university does, or a department may, or you do on your LinkedIn, everyone is doing something with a purpose. And so dig down in that website, find out what their mission is, and then see, will what I offer them, match their mission? Are they going to look at it and go, yeah, that's what we do. Let's fund this person. And then also find out who the program officer is. If an agency has a program officer, not all of them do, but this would be a person who is a point of contact for the funding opportunity. And it's good to kind of get to know that person, or at least make sure that person knows your name before they see your submission come across their desk. This is a person who's going to collect everything to give to the judges or the panel, the reviewers, and this person doesn't have a lot of time. So the more of a personal connection, or professional, obviously, more of a professional connection you can make with them, the better. So that wouldn't be like a cold call. I wouldn't just call them up and say, hey, will you give me money? Find an opportunity to send a nice email to them, a way to, ask, hey, I'm a graduate student at FSU working on a project I think aligns with what your company's mission is, your agency's mission is. Here's a synopsis. Do you think that it would be, do you think it fits? And do you think it would be worth submitting? Something like that, a little bit like that can go a long way toward getting them to know you, building that relationship, and also getting some intel, because maybe it's not at all what they're wanting and you've just saved yourself and them a lot of time, you know? So dig into that relationship, try to reach out to that program officer if they have one. So we've done 1, problem. 2, who cares? 3, has the money. And what you've got is an RFP. If you don't know what an RFP is, that stands for request for proposals. It goes by different names depending on what agency you're going for. Sometimes it's called a NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity. Sometimes it's called an FOA, or Funding Opportunity Announcement. It's basically the grant opportunity description, you know, that request for proposals, that we're calling it an RFP for today, just so I don't have to use different names throughout the presentation. But you found your RFP, you found that agency giving this one grant opportunity, it's due June 29th, and you've got it, you're ready. So what comes next? We need to plan out how we're going to do our proposal. I highly suggest don't just sit down and start writing, because you may have to move that draft around a lot to make it work. And it's always good to be strategic. I feel like I've said that word a lot already today, but be strategic. Proposal writing is serious stuff. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And my guess is there's a chance you might feel overwhelmed in reading that RFP. I still feel overwhelmed when I read some of them. You know, they can be very long documents sometimes with lots of very detailed, specific rules and guidelines. And so it's good to know that you should probably carve out some time to plan out how you'll do your proposal. That is a really great way to make sure that you are prepared once you start writing. All right, so the first thing I would do is figure out, move from what problem am I trying to solve to how can I solve the RFP's problem? Because this RFP is going to have its own kind of mission that aligns with the mission of the agency, but they're funding this very specific project, right? So does my solution need to change just a little bit to solve the RFP's problem, right? So you may have to adapt a little. That doesn't mean throw out your research, but maybe I need to explain it a little differently. Or maybe the pilot data I thought I was going to get needs to be a little more complex or a little more in depth, or maybe use a different target population than I thought I was going to use, so that I can make sure I'm the most competitive for what this RFP is looking for. So don't be afraid to adapt a little bit. And then moving on, you got to know who this agency is. I spoke a little bit about this already, but it goes beyond just who has the money to how am I going to convince them to give me the money. You know, like I said, read the program's mission. What have they funded in the past? If there are any examples of successful proposals from that agency, read them. Maybe someone at FSU got that award or that grant. Might be worthwhile reaching out to see if they might be willing to share a draft. You'll be surprised what you can get from asking. I know there are databases out there for successful proposals for different agencies, but really find out, yeah, what are they funding? What kind of projects are they interested in? Who these people are, and then strategize how your solution to that problem will best be presented so that that audience, that agency will want it. You know, you might notice buzzwords that they use. You don't want to overplay the buzzwords to match up with them too much, you know, but you kind of get a sense of who they are by reading their website, by looking at who they funded in the past. All right, so now it's time to shred the RFP. Shredding an RFP, you can see an example on the right there of an RFP for, I think this is NSF. It's so tiny on my screen, I can't tell. But so this is an example of how to go about shredding an RFP. You can use a highlighter or just copy paste sections onto a separate document. You're going to look through your RFP very carefully, and you're going to find the important points and basically make a condensed list of requirements that you can refer back to, so you don't have to look at the entire document every time you're trying to write, look at this 25-page document. Let's shred it and find out what's really important. So read the whole thing real carefully, and then take a highlighter or your mouse, and find everything that is a requirement. The applicant must have this. They should have this. You're expected to have completed your, bachelor's by X date. Deadlines, highlight those, know what your deadlines are. It's not just sometimes when the proposal is due. Some agencies require a letter of intent. It's almost like a pre-proposal to come forward at a different date. So make sure all the deadlines, because there might be more than one. And then also highlight that scoring criteria. Often RFPs will let you know what the panel is going to be judging you on, what your scores are going to come from. Know what that is so that you can address each of those areas throughout your proposal. And then also highlight any documents or materials that are expected, because it may not just be that one proposal document. You may have other supplementary documents to submit. Don't want to miss out on that, because people don't have time to read incomplete things. If they don't see all the documents are there, you might not get any eyes on your proposal. We don't want that. So once you have read through and you've shredded your proposal, you want to create a checklist out of all of those elements that you highlighted. So developing this checklist is the best way to ensure that you address every requirement. So you can see here, we have a sample one on the screen. Every question, every request, like I was saying, the descriptions should get their own checklist item. And this is going to be really helpful as you go down the line, especially if you're a checklist person like me, or maybe big, pages of text are a little overwhelming. It's nice to just know, okay, do I have this one thing? Nice, satisfying to check that off, right? So create your checklist, create a proposal outline. If the RFP suggests that you must, any suggested outline, you must follow that outline. All right. So this is not the time to be super creative in your layout. If they've told you, first we need an intro, and then we need a bio sketch, and then we need this, follow the rules. That's what they're expecting. If they aren't specified, you can look at an example of a successful proposal and kind of follow that outline. Make sure it's one from the same agency. A lot of agencies are different and expect different things. So know your agency and get an example from that agency. So if all else fails, you can follow Heilmeyer's Catechism as your outline. What are you trying to do? How's it done today? What's your new approach? Why is it new? Who cares? What difference will it make? What are the risks? And then what are the midterm and final checks for success? So that's proposal outline, content. And then the last thing in planning is the proposal schedule. So I know this looks like a lot of work, and it can be a bit like putting together a puzzle. But it's really great to have a nice established timeline to keep you on track, to keep you from feeling overwhelmed. You may have 3 months, you got to get this done, or 1 month, and you want to make sure you're hitting your benchmarks in time. Things will take longer than you think they will. As you create your checklist, I go from the day it's due and work backwards. Also, keep in mind, if you're submitting anything that needs to go through FSU proper, like if you're submitting something to National Science Foundation, you need to go to the appropriate office here to submit through them. And so I know AGFA can help, or I can help identify which office you need to go to, but there's usually a 3 working day window that they will accept your draft. So I wouldn't expect to find out, how do I submit this thing the day it's due? Expect that you got to know and have submitted it to the appropriate office 3 days out from the official deadline. And then work your way back. When's my first draft going to be due? My second draft? When do I need to start a budget draft? When might I need to reach out and find out contacts for looking at my budget? That kind of thing. Creating that proposal schedule really will help lower your stress and anxiety, give you something to fall back on. And then you'll know ahead of time if, okay, there's a big question coming up, and you'll have time to ask for help. I know as grad students, we work all the time. We don't take holidays off. We don't take weekends off. Don't count your holidays and weekends in this schedule, because no matter what, something may come up, and something's going to take longer than you expect. So give yourself that buffer time of your holidays, your weekends, evenings. Don't expect to throw 12 hours a day into this. Overestimate the amount of time it's going to take, so that you're ready when those unexpected moments come up. Things take longer. All right, so, examples of theme statements. So I think I skipped a slide, I'm sorry. There we go, okay. All right, so it's good to have a theme statement, and those come from a combo of features and benefits. This is kind of a businessy way to look at this, but you want to find out, you want to make sure that you're explaining to your agency in your proposal what your features are and what your benefits are. And together those make your theme. So features are the nitty gritty of what you're doing, your it's a Thursday, your methodology, your research direction, that kind of thing. And then your benefits are the ways that your features will solve the problem, right? So I'm going to use this methodology and run these tests so that we can create a more efficient, way of analyzing such and such, right? So here are my features, going to use these methodologies. The benefits are a better way of analyzing this thing. Together, that's your proposal's theme. Every proposal needs a theme. All right, so you need to find out what that is and a great, succinct, clear way to explain that to your reviewers. So here are just a couple examples of what a theme statement might look like. I'll go to the second one. This project seeks to pilot a novel pedagogical framework that builds communication and collaboration skills in individual researchers as a means of building more effective teams. Essentially, we aim to build better teams by building better team members. Then when we move into the benefit, thus enhancing the team's ability to generate transformative research questions. Together, that's your theme. Remember that agency, that organization may not care all that much about the feature. They'll want you to have a methodology. They'll want you to have the feature, what you're doing, the mechanics of it, but what they're funding is the outcome, right? It's that benefit. How's that going to help me get my mission across? So make sure you explain what that benefit is. Don't just leave it at, I do this analysis. It's really great. Send me to France. It's what's it going to do for them, right? What's the benefit to them? And make sure that that's real succinctly said and close to the top of your proposal, if not the very first thing you say. Let them know there's a benefit to this. This is what you can expect from me. All right, so we've done a lot of planning. We've got our theme statement ready to drop in when we need it. And we're going to move on to the proposal writing, the fun part, right? So with proposal writing, I'm just going to go over a couple or a few little basics to keep in mind. Some of this you may already know. It might be just a nice refresher. Some of this may be new. If so, great, awesome. So the first thing is just present your ideas simply, right? imagine, I think probably some of you have experience being TAs, teaching courses, having large groups of undergrads that you have to grade papers for. And man, it can start to just all swim together. The proposal reviewers have the same job, only at a much larger scale. They're getting all these proposals in, and everyone's trying to sound smart and use big words, and it's good to use them if they're appropriate, but you're not here to show off, you're here to convince them to fund you, so find ways to present your ideas simply and straightforward in a memorable way. Remember, you've got to compete with a stack of 200 other people just as talented, just as innovative as you. That clarity is going to be super important. So here are just a couple examples of kind of big words and phrases. Experiencing visual impressions of working in a lab. At the present moment in time, we would like to call attention to the fact that, or more specifically, we don't need all those words. You can get straight to the meat of something. And if one word says what 3 words can, use that one word. All right. Use it if it's powerful. You don't want something that's you don't want, to sound like a 3rd grader the entire way through your proposal, but find those moments where you can cut down and cut to the punch so that your sentences are snappy. They get the point across. The reviewer can read it and actually remember it when they go home to dinner and don't go, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I just read. So simplicity is so important. Avoiding grandiose language. Speaking of large words. So grandiose language, hard to support, often subjectively applied. So that would be something like saying that what you're going to do is going to revolutionize science. Probably not. We're being innovative. We're doing great things. We're going to help make things better, but we're not unrealistic about it. You realize that you're not going to save all of humanity with these, this $100,000 you're going to get. So be humble, be realistic about what this project can do. Probably not a total paradigm shift. You're probably not going to solve climate change and end world hunger. I think a good key is if you were to read your proposal like you would a student's paper that you have to grade. Would you circle anything and say, you got to support this? Or really? That's grandiose. Be just as critical of your own work, if not more so. Also be specific. This is a good, bad ways and then good ways to be specific. Bad, based on prior research, the next step is obvious. No, it's not. You got to tell us. Tell me everything. Do not expect that I am an expert in your field. I may care about the same thing, but I may be from a totally different world than you. I need to be told, based on prior research, next step is, and you state the next step. We'll go into the community and work with this school to create, these tools. There's some other good ones here. I don't know. I'm happy to share my PowerPoint at the end. Yeah, cool. Thank you, Keith. Yeah, so you can go back through here and read all of the examples. For now, I'll just go ahead and move on. Don't be afraid to bold, italicize, or underline key points. They got to be key points. Don't just do it because you can do it. But whatever you want to really drive home, if this were to be condensed in one paragraph of key points, what would they be? Those are the ones you want to underline. That's a good example. You can read later, things to italicize and bold. Also graphics. A lot of proposals could have graphics, kind of depends on what the agency is, what they expect. So it's good to know from previously submitted proposals, successful ones, are they expecting graphics or not? If you're unsure, don't use them unless absolutely essential. Graphics are more powerful than words. And so you should really only be using graphics when they help hammer home your theme of your proposal. If it's just an example of something, and it's not necessary, don't put it in. Charts are great. Graphs show different data correlations. You can read this later. The type of graphic you use sends a different message. So make sure that you're using the form that's necessary to get the appropriate content across. With graphics, form and content are like that. All right, tables versus maps. What are you trying to prove? This is an example of a really great graphic showing the life cycles of oysters that really helps explain what's going on and relates directly to proposal. So they increase your understanding of content. If you need to increase understanding, you can show a graphic, do it. Don't use inappropriate graphics. If you're trying to clean up the Gulf of Mexico, don't just say, hey, here's a picture of some beach chairs on a beach. Fund me, you know, that's not specific enough. Some random airplanes and nothing has been explained why you have these jets in the sky here. I don't care. I don't see why it's here. It's unnecessary. Make sure you're using appropriate graphics. Also, think about captions versus labels. All right, you can have a graphic. You need to explain what it is down below. Avoid labels because, again, don't expect they know what you're doing and can just look at your graphic and go, oh, I get that tooling. You know, captions help interpret for them what the visual is showing them. Providing that connection between the features and benefits. Again, it's all about the theme, right? You get that theme statement, then you know everything has to refer back to that and support that in some way. So this is a good idea of the caption in figure 1. The co-occurring layup procedure bonds a ceramic composite layer to the outside surface of CFRP composites. It's my favorite stuff to read. This results in stronger yet lighter structural components for use in advanced aeronautical applications. Even I understand what they're saying, even if the graphic looks a little hard to understand at first. Reading that, I can see, okay, yeah, that's that layer, that's that layer. I get it. I understand. So when I see them talking about it in a big paragraph, I can refer back to that graphic right next to it and go, oh yeah, I can follow this. So when you have a reviewer who's trying to read 200 of these, the words don't swim. They've got the graphic to go back to, right? Here's another example of figures when you're talking about graphs. And I'll let you look at that later, but basically captions, not labels. Interpret it for them. All right. Next would be just a little bit of basics about proposal structure. Some of this you may already know. A lot of this you may already know. If so, you could just go, yeah, I know that. So people tend to best remember what they hear first and what they hear last, what they read first, what they read last. Make sure that you're very strategic about what that first sentence is, about what that last sentence is of every paragraph you choose. Again, people want to know what the benefit is. They want to know how you're going to help change the world and advance their mission. They may not really care about the history of your project and all of that. They still need to know for the judging criteria, but you really want to make sure that they don't go away remembering, oh yeah, there's something about ancient Greeks, you know, but that, oh, this is adding to the field of science by doing this. So make sure you start strong and then you end strong as well. And make sure that they're going to leave going, I know what that project was about. Strong first sentences, strong last sentences. And then also, like I was saying with writing that checklist, shredding the RFP, looking at the review criteria, you want to write to that review criteria as well. Always read and understand the review criteria before you start writing. What are they going to judge you on? You got to check all those boxes. So know that really well. Next would be, this is just an example of, you know, what the reviewer criteria could be and then how your proposal reflects that. So say the review criteria is saying, hey, your project, the issue of the project will address important, significant, is the project issue the project will address important or significant in the PI's area of research. Have a sentence in there that says the gist of, this thing is important in the area of research in my field because, like, don't say my, but the PI's research because blank. So make sure you are giving them spoon feeding almost. Hey, I read this and I know the answer. I read that and I know the answer. No one can say, I don't know how this fits this criteria. It's right there. Couple other things real quick. Think about broader impacts. If something is requiring you to show that it's going to have your project will have a broader scope, it will, have, broader scope. The review criteria could be, is the project clearly related to the PI's long-term research goals? My long-term research goals are blank, and this project helps fulfill those goals by blank. Differentiation from dissertation. Watch out for that. Don't assume that you can just make your dissertation the project you're going to get funded for. Know your review criteria, because if you were just planning to use your dissertation topic to get this grant and then you come across this after you've written the whole thing, you're screwed, so read this criteria. It's very important. For the budget, real briefly, don't ask for more than you need. They're not stupid. If you pad the budget, they'll know. And if you ask for too little, they'll wonder, well, is this really worthwhile? Do you really get what you're trying to do? The budget should reflect that you understand the investment required, because that reflects that you know what this project really is. Make sure your budget asks to budget for all your tasks. How are you going to do this one thing if you don't have money? If you know you need money for something, you need to ask for it in the budget. And then there are people in your department or college who can help with budgets. If you cannot find them, feel free to reach out to me. I'm assuming AGFA as well may have some contacts about budget support, but just keep in mind, if you're not a budget person, in your timeline, carve out some extra time so that you really make sure that that's solid. And then lastly, supporting documents. Like I said, don't just assume that one proposal is all you have to turn in. You may have a lot of other requirements, which you'll find out through shredding your RFP. There may be things like your curriculum vitae, your biosketch, your letters of support, facilities descriptions, mentoring plans. There's a lot going on, and these will take longer than you think to collect. From personal experience working with faculty members, I can say they always take longer than you think. I would not go to your advisor a day before it's due and say, I need a letter of support, because they might be out of town. You never know. This has happened before. So you don't want to miss out on your chance of getting funded because you didn't think through your supporting documents. And I think that's about it from me. So I'll leave it open and hand it back to you guys.
Does anybody have any questions? This is a really good time. If you have awards that you're thinking about pursuing and you have questions about putting the proposal together, to ask.
Hi, Honorine. I see you've raised your hand.
Yes, I actually have a question. So, you talked about reaching out to the program officer and, because it's a good way for them to remember you. And you said, you can say, do you think it would be worth submitting? For instance, for awards that are general, like for instance, the Ford or ACLS Mellon, where they kind of, they don't have a specific topic or discipline, but they do receive like maybe thousands of application. So I think it is important for them to remember you, but I wouldn't be able to just send my application and say, oh, do you think it's worth submitting, since they take every any type of topic. So how can you, and I don't want to be the person that, you know, the information is on the website, and I don't want to be that person that asks a question when the information is already on the website. So how can you reach out to this program officer?
Oh, that's a good question. So there isn't a contact name? Is that what you're saying? That
No, there is a contact.
there
name,
is,
but
it's just so broad.
What do I ask this person? How do I make them
Right.
remember me?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So definitely, I see where you're going with this, and definitely know that website really well before asking something they can find, you know, go, well, it's on this page over here. I would definitely know the website well. I would definitely know the RFP really well. If questions are kind of difficult at that time, it might just be good to say, you know, I'm considering applying to this, and this is, you know, maybe just a very brief summary of my project. Do you feel that this would be fit, you know, your parameters, and would you be interested in me submitting this? Also, I might see, do they have webinars? Sometimes different agencies will have program officers give talks, and you can just sign up and attend and have time for questions afterwards. That's a good time to get yourself out there. Sometimes they're going to the same conferences you may go to, you know, may run in the same circles. It's good for them to see you in those ways too. So yeah, I would maybe give them a bit of an example. And if you feel like that might be too much, if they're like, we do not take any summaries or anything, do not email us about any of that, maybe just might have to stew on what's the right question to ask, you know. And that's a good question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Evangeline, I have one thing to add to that.
Yeah.
We have a graduate student in urban and regional planning that was applying for an award with the, I think at the time it was with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And they had several directorates, very similar to NIH, offices that focus on particular areas. And so she contacted the program director just to kind of gauge if what she was proposing fit into the award that she was applying for, because it was a little vague. And she ended up winning the award from a different directorate because the program officer talked to her about what she was doing and where it fit best in their foundation as far as the correct place to pursue funding support for it. So Honorine, I do think that taking into consideration all of the things that Evangeline mentioned with making sure you're familiar with the website, making sure you're familiar with the RFP, but then there are those extensions of questions that just are not answered, and or they may be answered, but they still don't provide an answer for you. And those program officers, I think one of the things I'm hearing, right, is the hesitation to contact them, so it doesn't feel like you're trying to smooth your way into getting the award. They exist for the purpose of answering questions and clarifying information so that you can present your best self when you're applying for an award. So I think you have to just get past that that hesitation, because I know that for a lot of students, that's what it is. It's this is a part of the review process, and now I'm trying to sucker up to them to make them see me as the best candidate, and that's not what it is. If you've done your due diligence with all of the research and you still have questions about fit and other things, they exist for the purpose of answering those questions.
That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, any other questions? I haven't even looked at the chat.
I think we have a poll. Do we have a poll? We have a workshop survey poll, and typically we use this information just to help us to think about programming support in the future and content that we present in the future. It is anonymous, so we really just want to know how you all feel. And so for those of you that stuck around, that are still here, if you don't mind answering the questions from the poll that's posted, And then also we have a few minutes left. So please, even if it's about a specific fellowship or award, if you have questions related to the content presented, don't be shy. You can drop it in the chat if you don't want to come off mute to ask.
And I would just say, in case anyone's typing a question right now, don't worry about failing. A lot of people don't get funded on their first try. And it is not, the end of your research if you don't get funded that first time. It doesn't mean that your project was bad necessarily. It doesn't mean that it can't work for something else. So, it sometimes takes us tough skin to take failure and keep moving forward. So I would expect that some of these proposals may not get funded the first time, and that's okay.
Well, if there are no more questions, then we want to thank Evangeline Coker from the Office of Research Development for joining us and providing such an insightful presentation.